If you want to get rich, stop praying because God is not interested in your prayers, and I know how that sounds. Sounds like heresy. Sounds like I'm telling you to stop praying altogether. I'm not. I'm telling you something that's going to wreck the way you've understood prayer your entire life. Something they never taught you in church. Something that once you see it, you can't unsee. God doesn't want you to beg. God wants you to act. God doesn't want you to pray for miracles. God wants you to create miracles. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why everything you've been doing has kept you stuck, and what Moses actually did to split the Red Sea. Not the Sunday school version, the real version, the one hidden in the Bible for 3,000 years. But first, I need to tear something down. A lie you've believed your whole life. A lie that's kept you powerless, frustrated, wondering why God isn't answering. The lie is this: if I just pray hard enough, if I'm good enough, if I can get God to notice me, He'll finally give me what I need. Wrong. Completely, dangerously wrong. And God Himself says so. Open Isaiah chapter 1. This isn't me talking. This is the prophet speaking God's words directly. And what God says should disturb you. What are your many sacrifices to me? I am full of burnt offerings. I do not delight in them. Okay, maybe He's just talking about animal sacrifices. Ancient stuff. Doesn't apply to us. Keep reading. Stop bringing meaningless offerings. Your incense is detestable to me. Detestable. God calls their worship detestable. But here's where it gets brutal. Even when you spread out your hands in prayer, I hide my eyes from you. Even when you offer many prayers, I am not listening. Read that again, slowly. God says, when you pray, I'm not listening. How is that possible? How can the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God who made covenants, who promised to hear His people, who parted seas and sent manna from heaven, how can that God say, I'm not listening to your prayers? This verse haunted me. It broke something in me. It sent me down a path that changed everything I thought I knew about how divine power actually works. Here's what I found. God doesn't need your prayers. He doesn't need your begging. He doesn't need you to grovel and plead and convince Him to be good to you. God is already good. God is already giving. God is already providing. 100%. Every second. Without stopping. The ancient Kabbalistic texts are clear. The Creator is an endless force of giving. It never stops. It never slows down. It never takes a break. The flow is constant. So if God is always giving, why aren't you receiving? Sit with that question. Don't skip past it. If the power is always flowing, why is your life not changing? Why are the prayers not working? Why does it feel like you're talking to a wall? It's not because God stopped giving. It's because you never learned how to receive. You've been begging for something that's already there, pleading for power that's already flowing, crying out for miracles when the miracle technology has been buried in the Bible this whole time, waiting for someone ready to actually use it. The patriarchs knew it. Moses knew it. The ancient sages knew it. And now, if you're still watching, you're about to know it too. But to understand the technology, you need to see what happened at the Red Sea. Because what God said to Moses in that moment, that's the key. That's the thing that unlocks all of it. Exodus chapter 14. Everyone thinks they know this story. They don't. Not even close. You've heard it so many times it's become religious wallpaper, background noise. You stopped actually hearing it. And I'm telling you right now, you missed the whole point. So did your rabbi. So did mine. The Israelites have just left Egypt. After 400 years of slavery, after the 10 plagues, after Pharaoh finally let them go, they're out. For the first time in 400 years, they're not property. They're people. And then they hit the Red Sea. Just water, endless, no way across, and nobody can swim. Behind them, Pharaoh changed his mind. He sent his entire army, hundreds of chariots, thousands of soldiers. You can hear them coming. You can feel the ground shaking. These people are about to watch their children die, trapped, water in front, army behind. They're not thinking anymore. They're just screaming. Why did you bring us out here to die, Moses? Were there no graves in Egypt? We told you to leave us alone. It would have been better to serve the Egyptians than to die in this wilderness. And Moses, the leader, the prophet, the man who spoke with God face to face, Moses does what you would do, what I would do, what we've all been trained to do. He prays. He cries out to God. He begs for help. He pleads for a miracle. He does everything religion taught him to do when you're facing the impossible. And then God says something that should make you deeply uncomfortable. Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move forward. Sit with that for a second. Let it bother you. Moses is praying. People are about to be slaughtered. And God says, "Why are you crying out to me? Why are you praying, Moses? Did I stutter? Move. I already gave you everything you need. I already equipped you. I already placed the power in your hands. Stop crying out. Start moving." This is the part your religion skipped over, and it's not an accident. We've been taught that prayer is about convincing God to act, that if we pray hard enough, long enough, sincerely enough, eventually God will do something. But that's not what God told Moses. God told Moses, the power is already there. The tools are already given. You don't need to convince me of anything. You need to use what I've already provided. Think about your house right now. There's electricity in your walls. It's just sitting there, flowing, waiting. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The power never stops. But if you don't plug in your device, you get nothing. The power didn't abandon you. You just never plugged in. Now, would you ever beg electricity to work? Would you fall on your knees and plead with the power company to please send power to your house? Would you cry and make sacrifices and pray for hours, hoping that maybe, if you're good enough, the electricity will decide to flow? That would be insane. You'd just plug in. So why don't you do that with God? This is prayer, not the begging, not the crying, not the endless pleading and hoping someone's listening. The connecting. Prayer isn't persuasion, it's access. You're not convincing God of anything. You're finally using what He already gave you. And when you shift from begging to connecting, from pleading to accessing, from crying out to moving forward, the sea splits, the obstacle moves, the miracle happens. Not because God finally decided to help you, but because you finally learned how to connect to what was always available. So the question becomes, how? How do you actually connect? That's the part they kept from you. The actual technology Moses used. So what are these tools? What did Moses actually have? Look, before I get into this, I need to say something. The first thing I'm about to tell you is going to sound crazy. Some of you are already skeptical. Good. You should be. I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm asking you to look at the Bible yourself and explain what you find there, because it's either a coincidence or it's not. The 72 names of God, Exodus chapter 14, verses 19, 20, and 21. This is the exact moment Moses raises his staff and the sea begins to part. Go count the Hebrew letters in each verse. Verse 19, 72 letters. Verse 20, 72 letters. Verse 21, 72 letters. Do the math yourself. It's freaky. 3 consecutive verses, each one exactly 72 letters. This doesn't happen anywhere else in the entire Bible. Nowhere. Just here. Just at the moment of the miracle. You can call that coincidence if you want. The Kabbalists called it a code. The Zohar, the foundational text of Jewish mysticism, explains that when you combine these letters in a specific way, they form 72 three-letter combinations. The 72 names of God. Now, these aren't names the way you think of names. They're more like passwords, frequencies that unlock specific doors. There's one for healing, one for protection, one for money, one for breaking through walls you've been hitting for years. Each one does something different. If you're rolling your eyes, I get it. Sounds like mystical nonsense. Sounds like something someone made up. But ask yourself, why would 3 consecutive verses at the most important miracle in the Bible each contain exactly 72 letters? Why would the Zohar, written centuries ago, point this out? Why would generations of scholars study these combinations if there was nothing there? I'm not telling you to believe, I'm telling you to investigate. Okay? But here's the thing. The names don't work by themselves. Actually, let me skip ahead because this is where everyone messes up. Forget the 72 names for a second. The most important tool, the one that makes everything else work, is the simplest one, and nobody does it. Action. God didn't tell Moses to meditate harder, didn't tell him to pray longer, didn't tell him to sit by the water visualizing the sea splitting. He said, move forward, walk toward the water, step into it. You can pray until your knees bleed, meditate until you float off the ground, visualize until you're exhausted. Without movement, you're just a person sitting in a room hoping really hard. The tools require activation, and the activation is physical. It's your feet, it's your hands. It's doing something in the real world before you see the result. Most people won't do this. They want the miracle first. They want proof that it's safe. They want God to split the sea, then they'll walk through. Doesn't work that way. Moses had to walk toward the water. The Israelites had to step into the sea. The ground became dry under their feet as they moved. Not before. Faith isn't believing God can do something. Faith is moving like he already did. Now back to the other piece. Because action alone isn't enough either. Consciousness. I'm not being poetic here. I'm being literal. Your thoughts shape what happens to you. Physically. Look around your life right now. Your money situation, your health, your relationships. All of that is a readout, a printout of what's been happening inside your mind. You see lack everywhere? You'll keep finding it. You see opportunity? It starts showing up. This isn't magic. It's how your brain filters reality, and it's how the system was designed. When Moses stood at the Red Sea, he had a choice. He could look at that water and think, we're dead. And if he thought that, they'd be dead. But Moses looked at that water and saw something else. A doorway. The next step. Not an ending, a passage. And the water listened. The obstacle in front of you right now. It's doing the same thing. Waiting. Waiting to see what you're going to do. Waiting to see what you actually believe. So here's how it works, and pay attention because the order matters. Frequency, consciousness, movement. Connect to the frequency. Shift what you see. Then move your body in the physical world. Miss one piece, the whole thing falls apart. Hit all three and seas split. Obstacles dissolve. Things that seemed impossible just happen. But here's what nobody talks about. There's a specific time to do this. A window every single day when your consciousness is wide open. When the connection is easiest. When the frequency is clearest. Miss that window and you're swimming upstream until you collapse. Catch it and the whole day bends in your direction. I'm about to show you exactly when it opens and exactly what to do once you're inside it. So when does this window open? Every single day, same time. And you've been sleeping through it, or worse, you've been handing it over to strangers on the internet. Here's what happens when you wake up. For the first few minutes, your mind is soft, open. It's not defended yet. You haven't put your armor on. You haven't been hit with demands or problems or bad news. You're just there, conscious, but barely, still half in that other place. This is the window. Your subconscious is exposed, impressionable. Whatever gets in first wins. Whatever voice speaks first sets the tone for everything that follows. And what do most people do with this window? They reach for their phone, still half asleep, eyes barely open, and they're already scrolling, checking emails, reading notifications, scanning headlines, watching strangers argue about politics, looking at other people's lives, absorbing other people's problems, other people's emergencies, other people's agendas. Before their feet even hit the floor, they've given the window away. They didn't command their morning. The morning commanded them. Actually, not even the morning. Some algorithm, some notification, some stranger who posted something inflammatory at 2 a.m. And then they wonder why they feel anxious, why they feel scattered, why they can't focus, why life feels like they're constantly reacting, constantly behind, constantly putting out fires they didn't start. You didn't lose the day at 2 p.m. when everything fell apart. You lost it at 6:47 a.m. when you opened Instagram before you opened your eyes. That's not dramatic. That's just cause and effect. Now, some people do it differently. Not many, but some. They treat that window like it's sacred. Because it is. They understand that those first minutes aren't just waking up. They're programming. They're setting the frequency for everything that comes after. These people don't reach for the world. They reach inward. They don't check what happened while they slept. They decide what's going to happen now that they're awake. They command the morning before the morning commands them. And here's the thing. This isn't personality. This isn't, some people are morning people. This is a practice, a discipline, a technology, just like the 72 names, just like consciousness work, just like action. Remember what we talked about? Frequency, consciousness, movement. The morning is where you set all three. It's where you plug in before the world tries to unplug you. It's where you decide what you see before circumstances show you what they want you to see. It's where you move forward before fear wakes up and tells you to stay in bed. This is the move forward principle made daily, made practical, made unavoidable. You want to split C's? Start with the first 30 minutes of your day. What you do in that window. That's what I'm going to break down for you next. Piece by piece, minute by minute. 6 components, 29 minutes. And if you do it right, everything else changes. I call it sacred, not because I'm being cute with an acronym, but because that's what this time actually is. Sacred, set apart, protected. You don't have to do this perfectly. Some mornings will feel like lightning running through your veins. Other mornings you'll be dragging yourself through it, half asleep, wondering why you're even bothering. Do it anyway. The dragging yourself through it mornings might matter more than the lightning ones. Consistency beats intensity, always. Let's get into it. S, silence. Before anything else, before the phone, before conversation, before your brain starts assembling the to-do list. You sit down and shut up. No app guiding you. No music, no mantra, just you and the quiet. Psalm 46. Be still and know that I am God. That's not a suggestion. It's a command. Be still. Most people can't do it for 30 seconds without reaching for something. A distraction, a thought, a phone. That's exactly why you need to do it. Silence does something strange. It reminds you who you are underneath all the noise. In the chaos of daily life, you forget. You start thinking you're just your job, your problems, your responsibilities. Silence strips that away. 5 minutes of nothing, and suddenly you remember there's something deeper running the whole show. Sit on the edge of your bed if you have to. Close your eyes. Let the thoughts float by without chasing them. You're not trying to empty your mind. You're just making space. This is you plugging in before the world tries to yank the cord out. Affirmations. Now you open your mouth, but you're not talking to anyone else yet. You're talking to yourself, to your future, to the person you're becoming. Go back to Genesis. How did God create the world? He spoke. Words first, reality second. Light didn't exist. Then he said, "Let there be light." Then it existed. That's the order. Language shapes reality. You're made in that image, which means your words aren't just sounds. They're instructions. They're programming. So program something useful. I am blessed. Abundance flows to me easily. I create value wherever I go. I am becoming who I was designed to be. Say it out loud, not whispering, not mumbling into your pillow hoping nobody hears. Speak it like you're issuing a command, because you are. You're commanding your own mind to get in line. You're commanding the chaos inside you to part so you can walk through. If you feel ridiculous doing this, you're probably doing it right. Your ego hates this. Your ego wants you small and quiet and apologetic. That's exactly why you need to override it. 5 minutes. Declare who you are until you start believing it. See, capture. Grab a pen. Actual pen, actual paper, not your phone. Your mind in the morning is chaos. Ideas, fears, plans, random garbage from dreams you can't quite remember. All of it flooding in at once. If you don't get it out of your head and onto paper, it stays in there, clogging the system, draining energy you don't even realize you're losing. Proverbs. Where there is no vision, the people perish. Writing creates vision, turns mental fog into something solid you can actually look at and work with. 3 things every morning. What are 3 things that must happen today? Not would be nice, must. Non-negotiables. What are 3 things you're grateful for? Be specific. Not my family. Which family member? Why today? What did they do? What's one lesson from yesterday? One insight. One thing that's becoming clearer. This takes 5 minutes or less, but it gives you more clarity than most people operate with all week. Ideas that stay in your head turn into ghosts. Ideas on paper turn into plans. Read, fill the vessel. Not with news, that's just other people's chaos. Not with social media, that's just other people's highlight reels and arguments. Fill it with something that's actually going to make you better. Bible, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes. Wisdom that's been tested across thousands of years and billions of lives. Proverbs 4. Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. Your heart, meaning your inner world, your thoughts, your consciousness. That's the source code. Everything in your external life flows from what's happening in there. You guard it by being ruthless about what you let in. 1 chapter, a few verses. Doesn't matter how much. What matters is that you're filling yourself with wisdom before the world fills you with garbage. Read slowly. Let it sit. You're not trying to check a box. Eat, exercise, 10 minutes, move, walk around the block, do push-ups in your bedroom, stretch, dance like an idiot. I don't care what it looks like. I care that your blood is pumping. Most people have it backwards. They think they need to feel energized before they move. Wrong. Movement creates the energy. Your body actually tells your mind how to feel, not the other way around. Slump over, drag your feet, move like you're defeated, and your mind will believe you're defeated. Stand tall, move fast, breathe hard, and your mind wakes up. Remember the whole point of everything we've been talking about. Move forward. That's what God told Moses. You can't build anything from stagnation. Momentum isn't something you wait for. It's something you create. 10 minutes of movement and you'll feel like a different person than the one who woke up. D. Declare gratitude. Close it out the same way you opened, with intention. Psalm 100. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. You want access? Gratitude is the door. 2 minutes, out loud, with actual feeling behind it. Thank God for your health. Thank him for the day. Thank him for things that haven't even shown up yet but you know are coming. Thank him for the hard stuff too, because that's where the growth is hiding. This isn't positive thinking fluff. Gratitude literally shifts your frequency. It yanks you out of lack and drops you into abundance. Instantaneous. When you start the day feeling full, nothing that happens can make you feel empty. That's SACRED. Silence. Affirmations. Capture, read, exercise, declare. 29 minutes that will change the other 23.5 hours. You do this consistently. Same time, same place, 30 days straight, and you won't recognize yourself. Not because the practice is magic, because you'll be different. And when you change, your whole world has to rearrange itself around the new you. But I need to warn you about something. This won't work for everyone. There's a reason. And if you skip what I'm about to tell you, you'll waste your time and blame the method. Most people who hear what I just taught you are going to file. I'm not saying that to be harsh. I'm saying it because it's true. And if I don't explain why, you'll be one of them. Here's what's going to happen. Someone's going to watch this video, get excited, try the sacred method for a few days, maybe even a few weeks. They'll meditate on the 72 names. They'll do the affirmations. They'll move their body, and nothing will change. So they'll decide it doesn't work. They'll say it's mystical nonsense. They'll go back to scrolling and complaining and wondering why God never answers their prayers. But the method wasn't the problem. They were. Let me be blunt. The 72 names of God are not magic spells. They're not cheat codes. You can't use ancient spiritual technology to bypass the inner work. You can't hand a scalpel to someone who's never studied medicine and expect surgery. You can't put a teenager behind the wheel of a race car and expect them to win. Tools require qualification, and these tools are no different. Isaiah spells it out. Remember that passage? Even when you spread out your hands in prayer, I am not listening. But there's a line right after that most people skip over. Your hands are full of blood. What does that mean? It means you can't access divine power while you're operating from ego. You can't tap into the frequency of abundance while you're cheating people in business. You can't receive blessing while you're tearing others down with your words. The system isn't broken. You're just disqualified. Moses didn't just show up at the Red Sea and split it because he knew the formula. Moses spent 80 years being prepared, 40 years in Pharaoh's palace learning leadership, 40 years in the wilderness learning humility. He was stripped down, rebuilt, purified. When Moses raised his staff, he wasn't begging from desperation. He was commanding from alignment. There's a difference. So before you try any of this, before the silence, the affirmations, the movement, any of it, ask yourself an honest question. Am I aligned? Am I treating people the way I want to be treated? Am I honest in my dealings? Am I operating from love or from ego? Am I giving or just trying to get? If the answer is ugly, don't despair. Just start there. The alignment comes first, then the tools work. Got it? So part 8 will cover addressing the I don't have time objection. Final reminder, Moses, move forward. Call to action. Comment, subscribe, tease next video on the 72 names. Writing it now. I already know what some of you are thinking. I don't have 29 minutes in the morning. I have kids, I have a job, I have responsibilities. My life is chaos before my feet hit the floor. I hear you, and I'm going to push back. You don't have time not to do this. Think about how much time you lose every single day to distraction. Scrolling feeds that leave you feeling worse than when you started. Watching videos that teach you nothing. Reacting to emails that aren't even urgent. Putting out fires that wouldn't exist if you had any clarity about your priorities. Most people waste hours, every day. But they can't find 30 minutes to set the foundation for everything else. That's not a time problem. That's a priority problem. And if you really can't find 29 minutes for yourself in the morning, I need you to hear this. You don't own your life. Your life owns you. You're not living, you're reacting. You're not building, you're surviving. That's no way to exist, and it's definitely not how you access anything we've talked about today. So find the time. Wake up earlier. Cut something that's not serving you. Guard those minutes like your future depends on it, because it does. Remember what God told Moses at the edge of the sea, army behind him, death closing in, water blocking the way forward. Why are you crying out to me? Move forward. Stop crying out. Stop begging. Stop waiting for permission. Move. The tools are in your hands. The power is already flowing. The sea is waiting to see what you'll do. Now do something.